At the beginning of the 20th century, the German High Command developed a strategy which it would have to use in the case of a two-front war. Knock out France first and then turn all the forces against the Russians in the east, the Schlieffen plan. Now, this plan had a very basic fundamental flaw. Because the plan envisaged attacking through Belgium, that in turn brought the United Kingdom into the war with all the huge resources that the United Kingdom possessed. And as a result, indeed, the United States came into the war as well because of the policy of trying to knock out the United Kingdom. Most people, however, would say the biggest single flaw was this, is that it didn't take into account the amount of time that the Russians would actually mobilize. I think, personally, I would say that it's quite reasonable to assume that the Russians would mobilize very slowly. However, this, what I would call reasonable assumption, was not the way it actually happened. And in 1914, as the German army, of course the German army was the Bavarian army, the Prussian army, etc., but it's called, for the sake of simplicity, the German army was marching on to Paris. The Russians were heading into East Prussia in two places, one in the west that led to the Battle of Tannenberg, and the other in the east, that's where I am right now. This is the town of Olecko. As a result of these battles, quite a large part of East Prussia did fall under Russian occupation. Admittedly, it wasn't for a great deal of time in the west of East Prussia, but here in the east it actually lasted several months. Now, Olecko here is not far from where the border was, 12, 15 kilometers, something along those lines. They were at Luk, today Ełk, in Poland, which was a garrison town, captured three times by the Russians. The Russians weren't kicked out until the beginning of the winter, the end of the winter of 1914-1915. So, or the spring of 1915, before the spring of 1915, make that clearer. As a result of this lost war, a war which portrayed as being for the survival of Germany, totally ridiculous in the circumstances. In East Prussia, a big memorial was built, the largest war memorial in the world at the time, I believe, at Hohenstein, today Olszynek. Now, I've done a video on that. You can see where it was, and almost nothing of the monument itself is still there. I mean, you find a few bricks and things like that, but around the monument you can see quite a lot, actually. Some of the stonework very similar to the stonework which you can see here. Indeed, here we've got this long alley which is still here, and indeed here the second largest of these war memorials, this one here, was built. Now, unfortunately, you can't see a great deal of it at the moment because it's being renovated. I didn't know it was being renovated when I decided to come here. Unfortunately, I can't actually arrange to do films when things are available. I'm here when I'm here. But there's a number of architectural things which are somewhat similar, not just the way the parks are laid out, but also there's a bridge behind here which is very similar to the bridge which still stands as part of the Olszynek Memorial. So this was the second largest, and there's a reason though for this becoming the second largest. This town, which was called Olecko, or usually Marggrabowa, both Slavonic names. The population around here in the countryside would have been largely Polish speaking or Mazurian speaking, and having said that, the people in the town largely would have been German speaking. But when it came for a referendum on the 11th of July 1920, the population voted almost unanimously to stay as part of East Prussia and thus part of Germany. So the name Marggrabowa was changed to Treuberg, the faithful town. I think that's the best way of calling it. Actually, it sounds a bit more dramatic in German than it does in English. Wierny Gród in Polish, that sounds quite good as well. But Treuberg. And so therefore this town, which has remained true, which has remained loyal to Germany, got the second largest monument. Now this monument did get vandalized by the Russians, or Soviets I should say, and it did say along the top words to the, hang on, there's a sign over here, so I'm going to give it to you directly as it was in German, so I don't make a mistake, because I want this to be absolutely understood what it actually said at the top. Here, I'll read it to you, it's in English. This memorial dedicates the fall in the First World War as a stone half rotunda located in the Sports and Recreational Park in Olecko. The initiative to erect the memorial was conceived by the mayor of Olecko and the Olecko town government. The idea was implemented with support from a government architect from Olecko. The construction works were inaugurated on the 19th of July 1925, with a cornerstone being laid in the foundations of the memorial. A substantial portion of the necessary labour was provided by the local inhabitants as part of public works. Huge stone walls with a sorry, I don't know what this word is. With windows were 20 metres wide and 10 metres high. The walls were linked to 3 turrets with stone swords on them. A stone pedestal for a vigil light was placed in the centre of the half rotunda. The political significance of memorials expressly defined by an inscription composed of large metal letters along the entire length of the stone wall. Lord, hear our prayers and make Germany strong again. Here, I'll say it to you in German. Herr Gott, erhöre unsere Flächen, los wieder ein starkes Deutschland erstehen. And that, I think, makes it quite clear. But let me finish what it says here. The memorial was unveiled on 11th December 1927, the second biggest monument in East Prussia after 1945. The metal letters were removed along with the stone pedestal on the upper platform. In 2004, the area surrounding the memorial was paved and the memorial itself renovated. Now, one thing which has survived here, which didn't actually survive at Hohenstein, at Olszynek, is that this is still a sports area. We've got the sports area is down here, which was originally built as part of the memorial. The sports hall down, it's all new. The last 20 years, looking at it, we've got football pitches over here, and we've got it's like that game people play in sand, like tennis when they throw the ball around, can't remember, whatever it's called. And so for that much, the idea of offering not only a place of pilgrimage, because that's what it was, but also this idea that there'd be things for young people to do around here. Unfortunately, of course, there's nationalist ideas that Germany was weak. The idea was put out largely by the Protestant Church that it was a war for Germany's survival, which is nonsensical, utterly nonsensical. But that was done nevertheless. Now, can't see down here, sorry, you can see, but we can't go down here. But here we have a bridge, which, so I can I didn't know where this was actually. I knew it was here. I went to ask. I'll have to come here, I'll find out where it is. The thing was, I parked literally 200 meters from here, so it was a big coincidence. Anyway, I was walking down it there, and I saw this, and it reminded me of the monument, the Tannenberg Denkmal, the Tannenberg monument. Anyway, good. So I'm going to do a longer video on this subject of this monument here, and I hope you find that interesting. Sorry, there's an insect on my hand. And It is a pity it's in this state, but I'm sure I can find some photographs from the tourist office or something showing what it's like without the scaffolding up. And I'll show you the entrance. I'll walk in along the long entrance to it as well. Anyway, so for the moment though, from me here in Olecko, northeastern Poland, close to the Russian and the Lithuanian borders. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.